You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kirsten.
The Big Show.
You got me. The Big Show. 5:55 a.m. October 6th.
Some say that karma is a bitch.
Well,
Some say that karma is a bitch.
some
The Big
say
Show.
it is the Big Show. Truth on Tap. Your host,
Okay, so
Kevin
last
Kirsten.
week I had to travel to San Jose.
My friend stayed in the
Business. I called about 3 hotels they
learned
didn't
what
have in
fear
there.
is
Apparently there was a Black World
when she
convention
stayed in the
going on
haunted
or
hotel,
something,
but
but I
not
didn't
the
call
Big
the
Show.
hotel that had a room for me. I didn't know at the time it was a haunted hotel.
She didn't know it was haunted. So when you don't know something, it's okay to go ahead and just assume, right? Right? Yeah. Even if you're a news
Well,
reporter,
I should have guessed.
would you say? Yeah. Guessed. You hear that? She guessed. There are times when it's okay to guess, and there are times when it's not, right? You're listening to Truth on Tap. Your host, Kevin Kierstad. It's October 6, 2013, 5:46 a.m. Why am I doing a show right now? Well, mostly it's because no one's awake to disagree with me, and I need to go on a rant. I probably would not have been doing a show right now. However, I got home from a ghost hunt. Now, these ghost hunts are usually unproductive. We go back to some haunted woods. It's one of the cheaper forms of entertainment in my town. And these woods are notoriously haunted. You can find the stories in many books and all over the internet. And we went out there to look for some boogeymen. And we saw a few things. Nothing that was something that would have made it into a horror movie. But I get back and I'm thinking, well, I'm not going to be able to sleep. I know that, because I've got some things to do. But I'm not going to do a radio show. I don't really have any topic right now. Well, a topic emerged. And that topic, which you've already seen as you listen to this show, came from Fox News, when one of their reporters claimed that our president had willfully, privately funded a Muslim museum to keep it open. There's all kinds of problems with that, other than it being untrue. All kinds of problems other than it being untrue. And then the problem of it being untrue. We're going to get into it. You can call in 910-NO-LYING. Just like that, no lying. 910-665-9464. You can get in on the chat by going to Spreaker.com/user/truthontap. Get in there, you'll see a live episode. Go ahead and play it, and the chat icon is on the lower right by the heart icon. You'll see it. Get right in there and chat. What do we got to do tonight? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some common misconceptions about liberals and conservatives, at least as reported by some. And here's something I've been wanting to talk about for a long time, but I couldn't really figure out the right broadcast to weave it into. And it could have gone on any of my stream of consciousness ones, but this is effectually going to be a kind of a stream of consciousness ones. Yes, we're theming it. We're theming the Fox News together with the liberal conservative misunderstandings, but I'm also just going to go where I want to go on this episode. So I don't want you to think it's over-structured, that's for sure. Don't use notes. Don't use a script. Speak from the heart. The only show I will occasionally use notes on is Caps on Tap, which is broadcast about the Washington Capitals only after they win, because I found that people don't listen to anything after they lose. Caps fans are in too bad of a mood, and I don't blame them. Caps fans are known among other groups of fans as a pretty classy bunch, and they're known as a very loud bunch. You can give credit to the Verizon Center in D.C. You can give credit to the fans if you like. You can give credit to the lack of embarrassing incidents. But I'm going to stay away from that tonight because we're not doing Caps on Tap. They lost last night to the Dallas Stars 2-1. We're doing Truth on Tap. And This is where the truth bleeds out of the pores of the radio. Yeah, even if it's ugly, even if it's not something we really want to hear, you got to hear it. If you're listening to this radio, you're getting the truth. Now, all truths are subject to correction. Most truths are not subject to negotiation. We don't decide what's true or not. We state what's true or not. And if we make a mistake, we correct it. All right? On this show. And I believe that's a basic journalistic rule, isn't it? You report the truth, and if you report something false, you correct it, right? And you usually apologize. I mean, that's been the unwritten rule, as far as I've seen, since media goes. I don't think that's the case with Fox News yet. I may be wrong. There it is in action. I may be wrong. Prove me wrong. Or they could correct themselves later. Today, maybe. May even apologize today. I don't know. I'm going to read you the story about this Fox News reporter that used a story from a parody website, and I'm guessing it's The Onion. I haven't read that deeply into it. The Onion, something I'm fairly qualified in. I wrote a book called The Unbitten Onion, which mocked their style. Not really mocked, but imitated their style. It's about 34 news articles, I believe, called The Unbitten Onion. You can find it on Amazon. Basically, lies on purpose to be funny, news stories. And a lot of times in lies, when you get into comedy, you find some truths, don't you? It's almost like the lies are a coating for the true medicine inside, because when you take it as comedy, it's easier to digest that way, isn't it? I've learned a lot from comedy. I mean, they are now saying in recent reports, and you can look this up, that comedy shows are, their listeners, their viewers, are reportedly, after given quizzes of certain types, more informed and better informed than your more extreme shows, like anybody that's watching Fox News shows or MSNBC. I don't know why. I didn't do this study, but it looked reputable to me. I looked at the study methods, the methodologies, and I looked at the conducting agencies. It looks legit. Prove me wrong. The top three, I believe, were BBC, seemed to be the most informed. NPR actually was the top spot, I believe, of most informed, and then BBC was somewhere in the top 5, and as was the Jon Stewart show on the Comedy Channel. Are you kidding me? A comedy channel has the most informed? Well, yeah, that's what it turns out. And people on the right tend to not like his show. I don't know if his show leans left. I think it just makes fun of everybody, but maybe I'm wrong. Have I been duped? I've watched the show probably 20 episodes in my life. I found it hilarious, as well as Stephen Colbert. I like when comedians can make fun of very real issues without crossing a taste borderline. You know what I mean? Like if a comedian were to come on and make fun about 9/11, yeah, that's not funny. And he'd probably come up missing the next day. But you can make fun about some pretty serious issues. There's a border there, and it's important that you don't step over it. We're going to get into this tonight about this Fox reporter jumping off of a bridge of journalistic credibility and landing on her head on concrete. Yeah, that's all a metaphor, yet it's an accurate metaphor in my view. We're going to talk more about this government thing to make sure everybody understands what's going on and what's not going on. We're going to talk about the cost to taxpayers and to America of keeping the government shut down. We're going to talk about the reasons that the government got shut down and the reasons it remains shut down. We're going to talk about what kind of lies are circulating. The left says that they have already negotiated. The right says they need to negotiate. What's the truth? Well, somebody's lying. We really need to get that out there. And I'm going to predict for you what's going to happen, at least in the major news headlines of politics, through the year 2020. That's what, 7 years. by my math. I'm more of an English guy. I don't do math. Yeah, 7 years. I'm going to predict what's going to happen in Congress and the White House. Tell me if I'll be wrong. Just a reminder, very quickly here, of what you're listening to.
You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kirsten.
If you're hearing anything differently tonight, it may be a result of the fact that I am running something, a trial version here, of something called Breakaway Broadcast, which runs along with my SAM broadcast, and it's supposed to give a more professional sound and feel to this internet broadcasted radio station, and I hope it does. That's what I'm trying to bring my people. I also hope that it brings a more high quality sound to the music that I play on here. I'm trying to do favors, professional courtesy, if you will, for Wes Johnson, whose voice you just heard. He's also famous. You can find him on IMDb and on the internet, wesjohnson.com. And Bad Ace, a local group that plays around southeastern Virginia, and an excellent band in their own right. And I want to do them a professional courtesy of making them sound as professional as they truly are by using the software that I can from my small homemade studio here in order to maximize the quality of their broadcast. So if you hear anything different, it's probably a result of that. Since then, since I've started using this, I've also tested calling only once, and there seemed to be a pretty big delay. I don't know if that's going to happen, but you can still call in 910, no lying, 910-665-9464, and we'll talk. You can also go to the chat by going to the Spreaker website, Spreaker.com/user, because I'm a user, /Truth on Tap. And you'll see it there. You'll see one show live. Click play. And right there, you can get in the chat. Lower right-hand corner by the heart icon. You'll see the chat icon. I'll go over there now to get it open. And then we're going to dig in. We're going to jump in to this Fox reporter who claimed that Obama was going to fund a Muslim museum out of his own pocket to keep it running during the government shutdown. And in my research, I will also reveal where they got that story from. And we're also going to talk about some misconceptions about conservatives and liberals. I'm trying to maybe bridge a gap here between the right and the left. I don't know. I don't know what it'll do. But I'll give it a shot, either way. May have Mr. Don Imus on this morning. As you know, he occasionally will visit this show as my alter ego. And that's okay. I can do that. That is a voice imitation. He doesn't actually visit. It's important that you know, because I think he's the kind of guy that would sue me. I don't know. I get that feeling. So I can't fuck around there. By the way, this isn't a family show. This is cussing is allowed, as it is a part of free speech. And in my heart of hearts, I can't avoid that. I need it to be really open. So cussing's got to be allowed. There are still a few things I won't allow. You know, imagine the top 3 or 4 worst criminal acts that you could perform in the world. Try to imagine that. And then imagine somebody coming and talking about them as if they weren't criminal or as if they enjoyed them. Like that wouldn't be allowed on the show. But that's got to be about where I draw the line. I got to allow just about everything else. I got to allow people to air their opinions. There comes a place where you cross over and you have lost all class and all humanity. And once you've done that, that's where I cut free speech. Okay, so I even have my limits. It's not totally free speech here, but it's about 99.99997% free speech. I think that's pretty close. I think that's good enough. I think that's more than most of your major networks, wouldn't you say? Yeah, I think you would. I think you would if you measured it. Let's get into it here. What did Fox News say? Bringing the story up here for you. And what happened was this. I'm going to read you the headline. I'm quoting Yahoo News right now because and I have no favoritism toward Yahoo News. I listen to 20 different news sources. So here it goes. It says, and they've written this on an internet news story. It says, Fox News host Anna Koeman falls prey to a story from a parody site as she references a quote from an alleged report that President Obama plans to fund a Muslim museum. And she does. Fox News is sitting there talking about... you know what? I think I'm going to play this. I hope that this comes through to you. I really do. It may not. It may not. I'll find out. Just give me a second. I'm going to go ahead and press play here. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's going to come through. Yeah, it's not going to come through. Anyway, so basically here's what they said on this report. And this was a very small segment of the report. That doesn't mean that it was sound bites taken out of context. It's got its context with it. It's only 2 minutes and 21 seconds, okay? So one guy's reporting that, the federal government has caused a headache for tourists wanting to visit this and that. And then another reporter says, why? Why are they shutting it down? It takes nothing to keep it open. That's not very bright. If you don't know what it takes to keep a federal park open, what kind of maintenance and safety requirements are involved, what kind of staff is required to keep it open, you should probably Google that before you go on worldwide news to say that there's no reason it shouldn't be open. That would be what I would do. I would think most sensible people would do that. Yet this reporter says, why close it? Just leave it open. It's just ground, and I'm paraphrasing, but I'm not far off. So, yeah, this little segment of Fox News, I have in my crosshairs and under attack. I am assaulting it. You cannot misinform the American public and then get away with it. I'm going to call you out on it, and I don't care who you work for. That's something this show is going to do. Fox News mistakenly airs parody. It's funny because they said that in Yahoo News they were trying to be so nice to this poor reporter. They said that she fell prey to a parody website. She's a victim. Yahoo News gave her the victim status for reporting this. Yeah. Okay, so let me go ahead and do the quote here. Here's the quote. Okay, so they're talking, right? They're talking and they say, quote, the Republican National Committee is offering to pay for it to keep it open so that the veterans from Honor Flight are going to be able to go and see this because who did it honor? It honored them, Koeman said during a report on Friday. And then she said, quote, it really doesn't seem fair, especially, and we're going to talk a little bit later in the show, too, about some things that are continuing to be funded. And President Obama has offered to pay out of his own pocket for the Museum of Muslim Culture out of his own pocket, she repeats. Yet it's the Republican National Committee who's paying for this. Yeah. Turns out Koeman was referencing a quote from National Report, a parody news site that ran the fake story on Obama. The key quote from the story reads, "The International Museum of Muslim Cultures is sacred. That is why I have taken it upon myself to use my own personal funds to reopen this historic piece of American culture." Yeah, well, yeah. It says here, and I think Yahoo's still trying to help her save some face, but in the fast world of TV news, it's most likely that a producer told Koeman about the so-called news report, which then made it on air before anyone could confirm the report's details. That's sloppy-ass reporting. That's all I got to say. Feel free to call in or go on the show's Facebook page and mark where other news agencies have made major mistakes. You can do it. Facebook.com/TruthOnTapShow. And you can leave comments on this show. You can leave comments on the actual show at Spreaker.com/user/truth-on-tap. You'll find it there. Call in if you like. 910, no lying. That's 910-665-9464. And tell me, where am I wrong here by saying that this was a pretty stupid report to make it onto the network and out to the people? There's a group of people saying, and I know this because I've read comments to this and other stories like it, that says, well, that's Fox News for you. They tell their listeners what they want to hear. Facts aren't important. Is that true? Or is that false? Well, I don't know. You'll have to tell me. I am not one who will trust Fox News or MSNBC. I've listened to both. I listened to them for years. I was glued to Fox News for a couple of years after 9/11. I was glued to MSNBC when I found out that one of my favorite old sports reporters, Keith Olbermann, had gone over there. And I went back and forth between these two going, these guys are extremely opposed to each other. And then I started not favoring either of them because it turns out that my view is more from the center. In other words, I'm finding value in both the right and the left, but not in all of their ideas. A very select combination of their ideas works for me best. And so I have to occasionally put one or the other in my crosshairs. It's not a great way to make friends because people are pretty evenly divided in this country, and they're divided widely, not narrowly. I thought there was a huge center, but apparently I'm wrong. The news media have done what they've set out to do, and that is to create a huge division between the right and the left in this country, a huge division so that they can keep you glued to your respective channels and they can sell commercials. And to do that, they've got to create a hostility. They've got to not only promote their own brand and their own view, but to attack the other brand, the other view. And that creates, well, a rivalry. And as a rivalry grows, people are forced to join into it if they fall for the tactic. They've done well. They've done well. Congratulations, Fox News. Congratulations, MSNBC, for creating this media warfare that has so many viewers drawn in and forced to pick one side or the other. I'm not going for it. You didn't get me. You almost got me, but you didn't get me. I'm going to measure each event as it comes by the facts. I'm going to measure basic philosophies as they come by the facts, and that's from politicians, that's from news media, that's from leaders, especially from leaders, whether they're governmental or other, corporate, whatever, police, any kind of people that are authorities. I always keep them under a microscope because people are too tempted to abuse power because temptations immediately arise when you take a position of power, don't they? Yeah, you get all kinds of temptations popping up there. And people are people. You know, we're really just animals, and we have the ability to communicate pretty well and have thumbs. So, you know, we're subject to temptation and all of the other animal behaviors, aren't we? If you don't think you're an animal, all you got to do is go out and get robbed, go down a dark alley, get mugged, let somebody come punch your kid in the head, let somebody come hurt one of your family members, and then tell me you're not an animal. And I'll tell you, you're full of shit, because you are an animal. And we like to believe we're some kind of super duper high on the creature maturity list, that we've completely bypassed reactive knee-jerk animal reactions. Yeah, it's not true. It's not true. It just takes a certain few things to break through our barrier to get our animal to come out. And basically all of civilized society at this time is a matter of keeping your animal under control. And how civilized you are is a measure of that. How under control can you keep your animal? That's how civilized you are. But the animal exists nonetheless and will not relent for anyone if called upon. And let me give you a little example, because I hadn't thought about this until now, but it's a point that other people made. I'm not taking credit for it. 9/11, people were jumping from a burning building. It turns out, according to most, and psychiatrists tend to agree with this, that it's not a choice to jump. Anything burning will flee. It cannot perceive, or would not care if it did perceive, what the consequences might be. It must choose not to burn. I don't know about that, because I think that a fear of falling could actually outweigh the physical sensation of burning to death. I think the human mind can do that. However, the point is this. That's an animal behavior. It's a reaction. I will not burn, I must flee. Not, well, I get to choose now. Do I jump and land in a pile in 1,000 pieces, dead for sure, or do I roast like a potato here? They say that's not a choice. You're going to flee the fire. To a large degree, I can see why. I just think you have to allow for the possibility that some people may be so afraid of heights that they could actually choose smoke inhalation or burning to death over jumping. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not afraid to be wrong. It happens. You got to say stuff to be wrong, don't you? No, I'm saying stuff. Prove me wrong. Let's see here. Did we get into this? We got into that, and that's good. What a shameful thing, to put that on the. And here's a problem with it, my friends. What if Obama did that? What if he did? What if he personally funded a Muslim museum? Do you think he would personally fund a Muslim museum and not an equally sized Christian museum that was shutting down due to government closure? You've heard of separation of church and state, right? You've heard of freedom of religion, right? Okay, so let's just use those two and tell me who's breaking what law if a president decides to help a church or museum stay open. You tell me. If you think for a second that the president or the Democrat shut this government down, you're sadly mistaken. In this case, that's just not true. The Republicans shut this government down. The Republicans decided that this will happen or the government will shut down. And because this didn't happen, the government then shut down. That's a fact. That's just the way it is. Any kind of spin or bias you want to put on it does not change that fact. And it's not a real popular view where I live, yet it's the truth. And I'll take any kind of argument against that and show you why it's wrong. So feel free to make it. I encourage you. Now, there's the argument that the Republicans want to make Obamacare fair for Americans. I have to say, hold on just a minute here, because Obamacare came through a bunch of legislative hurdles, made it into law, got challenged, went to the Supreme Court, was proven constitutional by the Supreme Court, and then went into law. And now the conservatives are saying, stop, we're holding everybody hostage till this gets pulled back. That's not the way to fight this fight. I would never tell Republicans to stop fighting this fight. If you think Obamacare is unfair, or you want to adjust it to make it fair, fight that fight. Go for it. But this isn't the way. This isn't the way. Shutting down the government is just a pimple. That's one thing. If you mess around with the debt ceiling, you've got a cancerous tumor that's about to explode in the brain of America. And you're already messing with it. If the debt ceiling is not increased by October 10th, in my view, October 17th is right around the limit, then we're gonna face some bad times. The credit rating will drop again. People saw what happened last time, 1. 2, they're seeing that there's no meeting of the minds this time. They're going to yank their money out of the market. And you know what that means? When everybody makes a run, the economy collapses. And you can't get something to eat unless you've got gold in your pocket. Pandemonium follows. Wars follow. Famine follows. Disease follows. It can be that bad. Do I predict that happening? No. But it's possible. And if you drive this to the limits you've already lost, because people aren't waiting until October 17th. They're going to start getting antsy right around October 8th or 9th, and they're going to start taking action by October 10th to save themselves. That's what could start the free-for-all. That's what you don't want to happen. And for that reason, the debt ceiling needs to be raised now. Now, is there a problem with spending in America? There is. There is. There has to be a lot of cuts. But what you cannot have is one side saying, okay, we're going to not raise the debt ceiling, therefore we cannot pay our bills that we've already incurred on the right and left. Cannot pay our bills. But we will raise the debt ceiling so we can pay those bills if we get the right kind of cuts. And what does that mean? That means that you on the other side must make cuts to your programs, while we on our side do not make cuts to our programs, because these programs are righteous. That's a problem. That's a huge problem, and it's what's going on right now. There's going to come a time when Democrats are jumping around looking like clowns. That time is not right now, because the Republicans hold that position right now. They need to fix this. They need to fix the hole they've dug for themselves and the American people by doing what they should have done in the first place. And then, when that's fixed, then they can continue this fight against Obamacare, if that really is the problem. Now, you and I know that's really not the problem. That's a part of it. There are much deeper issues. Let's just face it, with President Obama being in office. Go ahead, fill in the blanks. Why is there such a problem with President Obama being in office? Go ahead and fill in the blanks. I'm not going into that tonight. I've gone into it too many times before. Figure out what your answers are, and then whatever they are, realize that they are at the core of what's going on right now with a defunded government and a debt ceiling lock that is going to possibly send us into a global meltdown economically. In my view, maybe the Asian markets would hang on. Nobody else would. Yeah, nobody else would. Because when the United States falls, everybody falls in a global economy except for another superpower, and China's awful close to being one. We have about a $15 trillion GDP, I think, and they have roughly a $7 trillion, and everybody else is pretty far below that. So, yeah, that's one thing to keep in mind there. Now, what I'm going to talk about later is I'm going to talk about some big misconceptions according to, I'll give you the sources. I don't know how valid they are. I couldn't find very reputable sources that would claim this. Maybe you can correct me. I was looking for misconceptions about liberals and misconceptions about conservatives. And no, liberals does not mean Democratic, and no, conservatives does not mean Republican, but they often do connect, don't they? They're often kissing cousins, wouldn't you say? Yeah, they tend to accompany each other. Tend to. Always exceptions. Anytime I make a stereotypical statement, there are always exceptions. That is a given. But I don't want to have to repeat that every time. So if you're going to be a regular listener, I would prefer you learn that. And so when Kevin talks about a group of people, he's already making exceptions. I can't think of a group of people I would talk about and not have exceptions to a rule. I don't see how that's possible in my mind, but maybe I'll do it sometime. I don't know. So we're going to talk more about that. Before I do any of that, my poor vocal cords do need a break. We've been talking for 33 minutes, and I'm not a professional broadcaster, so I'm not too used to this yet. I'm getting to a point where I can talk for longer periods of time consecutively, but I'm not there yet. And so, for that reason, I will be putting on a song by Bad Ace, your favorite local group, and why wouldn't they be? They're so damn good. And I will also be following that up with a song from an unknown artist, or relatively unknown, which I like to download these public domain songs sometimes and just throw them on there, called Act Cool by Roman Holiday. I don't remember which one that is. I've been slacking and not downloading new songs that I need to go get some more from the public domain, from CC Mixter. Yet I have not. So anyway, let's go ahead and put this on. Let me remind you what you've been listening to.
You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kirsten.
Never had a feeling this quick as this before. Although I've loved plenty, none wasn't loved anymore. I've got you dancing in my mind every minute of every day. But I just feel so early to find the words to say. But I want you, and I always in my arms. But I need to, they protect you from any harm. Oh, I don't want to scare you away. I don't want to suffocate you, baby. I give you your space. You say you wanna touch your mama, I got plenty to pay. But I just feel so early to find the words to say. But I want you, now always in my arms. But I need to, baby, touch you all day long. Oh, I know that soon the time will come that I will be the only one in your life. Oh, Lord, yeah. As I hold you softly, deep within my eyes, I can't help but thinking maybe this is paradise. I'm never to not hold you in all my living days, but I just feel so right, baby, to find the words to say. That I want you, now always in my arms. That I need to, baby, offer you the stars. Oh, I know that soon the time will come that I will be the only one. Oh, I know that soon the time will come that I will be the only one in your life. Never had a feeling as quick as this before. Although I've loved plenty, none wasn't loved anymore. You say you wanna touch your mama, I got plenty to pay. But I just feel so early, baby, to find the words to say. But I want you, always in my arms. But I need to, they protect you man harm. Oh, I know that soon the time will come that I will be the only one. Oh, I know that soon the time will come that I will be the only one. That I will be the only one in your life.
When I fall in love, I get dizzy. I fall out there just to teach a memory to draw me in. Still can't regret my big sin. Though I acted a fool, my double become real has been. Tried my best fall in love, I get dizzy. Tried my best to act cool through the roughest weather. Had not kissed. Now that we say our goodbyes. Now that we say our goodbyes. Now that we say
You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kirsten.
Yes, you are. You know, I'm sitting here doing the least professional thing I could be doing right now. Well, maybe not the least professional, but damn near it. I'm eating Pop-Tarts on the radio, yeah. That's wrong, isn't it? That's wrong on deep levels. Yet, I'm confined by my choices this morning because I didn't eat last evening, I didn't eat late last night, and I didn't eat early this morning, and I didn't eat most of the day yesterday. So, because I decided to do this radio show before I decided to eat, my hunger said, I don't care if you're doing a radio show. The tummy needs attention right now, and the tummy will get what it wants. And so, I'm forced to eat Pop-Tarts while doing a radio show. And that's not right. That's not right. But bad planning on my part. Won't be the last time either. It certainly has not been the first time. Let's take a look here, and I'll tell you what I'm going to do. There's no reason to make this show longer than it needs to be. So what I'm going to do is get right into reading some of the common misconceptions about conservatives and liberals. And I just heard something fall. I don't know. Maybe somebody's out there messing with me. I don't care. Wouldn't surprise me. Let's see. If you go to about.com, it's usconservatives.about.com. They have some myths on there about conservatives. So it's the first one I pulled up, so let's pull it up. Myth number 1, conservatives are religious zealots. Well, they say they're not. It says it's fairly typical for conservative ideology to be dismissed as a product of religious fervor. This is probably because Christians, evangelical Christians and Catholics, tend to embrace the key aspects of the conservative movement, such as limited government, financial discipline, free enterprise, a strong national defense, and the preservation of family values. While it's fair to say that most conservatives use faith as a guiding principle, most try to keep it out of political discourse, recognizing it as something intensely personal. Conservatives often will say that the Constitution guarantees its citizens freedom of religion, not freedom from religion. This means that practicing faith publicly is reasonable. Public proselytizing is not. I'm going to leave that alone and let it stand for what it stands for you. Myth number 2, conservatives are racist. Says, although it is a frequent accusation, conservatives are not racist. Right there I have a problem. So, you're willing to come out and say conservatives are not racist, right? None of them? Because I didn't see your exception disclaimer. All right, let's keep reading. In fact, conservatives believe in equality for all Americans, regardless of ethnicity or national origin. This is why they oppose affirmative action. I will just say that yes, I believe that's absolutely true about some conservatives. I sure will. And I'll stop there on number 2. Myth number 3, conservatives are homophobes. Um, you know, I'm starting to see what's going on here. Let's say these are correct. I can't even go so far as to say necessarily that if talking about the majority of conservatives, that they're correct. Because I can't be sure. I haven't seen the polls. It has been my personal experience that when I read these things, I'm going, well, I know some. And if I know even some, well, and the point kind of escapes me there, because I'm going, well, you're wrong about at least one person, so how many are you wrong about? Show me the data. I've got no single amount of reference data here to polls or anything from this particular report. Well, let's keep going. Myth number 4, conservatives are warmongers. Again, no data referenced. It says conservatives are often unfairly pegged as warmongers. Yeah, but it says, now here's a good one. Here's a good point for conservatives. In fact, every major war undertaken by the U.S. in the past 100 years, except one, was initiated by a Democratic president. Democrat Woodrow Wilson entered the U.S. into World War I. Democrat Harry Truman, World War II, the Korean War. 3 Democrats, Truman, Kennedy, and Johnson, perpetuated the Cold War. Perpetuated the Cold War? Okay. Kennedy entered the U.S. into Vietnam, while Republican George H.W. Bush entered into Iraq. And it was only to protect U.S. interest. Oh, so we have a condition on what Bush did going to war. There are no conditions on what the Democrats did. Okay, so you start losing credibility with me when you do this as a reporter. And I can guarantee you on the liberal side they're going to do it too. George Bush plunged America into war. What does it say? George W. Bush plunged America into the war on terror in direct response to failed Clinton-era national security policies. Yeah, see, this has lost all credibility for me now because I see that it's propaganda. But I'll keep reading. Myth number 5, conservatives oppose immigration. This is where they say that conservatives don't oppose immigration, they oppose illegal immigration. Again, I know some that just don't like anybody that's not their color, and they don't want anybody else in the country. Therefore, this obviously is not perfectly true, and I don't know how untrue it is, because they give me no data. Show me the polls. Show me the studies. I want to see the methodologies. I want to know what universities did the studies. I want to know what conditions were set forth. I want to know the control. I want to know everything that was done to get this polling data, and I want to know where that can be referenced from and where those references can be referenced from. You give me nothing. Nothing. Not even poll results. Yeah, no credibility for me on this one. And remember, I picked this site, but I picked it randomly. So give it the weight that you should give something that was picked randomly. Let's go on. Now, this one is called Essay, Misconceptions of Liberalism. And this was on Rational Wiki. Once again, I don't have an opinion on the credibility of this site. The other wiki sites I tend to be okay with because they always have their sources excuse me, listed at the bottom, where you can do your own research to decide if that source was credible and to go ahead and see the source's work to see how they came up with what they came up with. I kind of like that. So here we go. Yeah, I don't want to read you the whole essay because that would bore the crap out of you. Okay, this is what they're claiming our platform is. Our, meaning the movement of liberalism, if you want to call it that. A liberal is a believer in many of the following political positions. Many of these, okay? 1, denial, and I'm not going to read all the definitions, you'll just have to use your brain. Denial of inherent gender differences. Okay? 2, taxpayer-funded abortion. Same-sex marriage. Support of affirmative action. Support of political correctness. Censorship of prayer in classrooms. Compelled taxpayer funding of government schools for nearly all ages. Government-controlled medical care. Labor unions. Elimination of abstinence-only program funding. income redistribution, usually through progressive taxation. A living constitution that is reinterpreted rather than an unchanging constitution as written. Support for gun control, government programs to rehabilitate criminals, environmentalism, disarmament treaties, globalism, opposition to a strong American foreign policy, support of obscenity and pornography as a First Amendment right, opposition to full private property rights, limit conservative talk radio by reinstating the fairness doctrine. Let me go to that last one real quick because I didn't know about that. It says, all things considered, conservative talk radio serves primarily to stroke the egos and play to the prejudices of most ignorant listeners. Liberal talk radio often follows the same formula, which is something of a ratings loser when targeting people who do not wish to be spoon-fed their opinions. Okay. Broadcast spectrum is regulated as a public property for the public good. Many of us feel that if talk radio spews hatred, misinformation, and lies, it should be required to allow the expression of an opposing point of view or give up its license. Actually, I think that's fair. Do you? They're saying, hey, we require you to allow anybody to disagree with you on the air, or we'll take your license. I don't know. Maybe that's a little extreme. Others feel that free speech is an absolute, and that if conservative talk radio is a commercial success, then it should not be impeded. There is no single liberal platform on this matter. Gosh, I'm looking at some of these going, wow, you kind of beat yourself up here, and for that reason you have some credibility with me here. When you just hear the headlines that I read and not the descriptions, for example, they put conditions on some of these. So you hear me read all these things, you're going, man, I knew it. You know, if you hated the left, you're going, that's why I hate them. Well, hold on. I'm just going to pick one. Here you go. A living constitution that is reinterpreted rather than unchanging constitution as written. All right, this is the description below. A sure hallmark of the fundamentalist mind is an insistence that some founding document or another is inviolable and should be interpreted now the way it was when it was written. Such inflexibility is a decidedly anti-rationalist. In addition, conservatives insist on their own interpretation of the Constitution, which is often not supported by reference to statements the writers of the document made about their intent. I tend to be kind of a constitutional guy. I like it the way it's written. So you can call me on the right for that, I guess. Because I believe that the basic principles put forth in each of the amendments and the Constitution itself are pretty clear. I don't think they take a lot of decoding. I mean, we're not going back to biblical times here and having to decode 17 different languages into one, trying to not lose anything in translation. It's pretty clear what they're saying. Now, do both sides shape the Constitution to fit their needs? Yeah, they do that. They do that. But I think that it's pretty clear what the Constitution says, and that what it says must be defended at all cost, up to and including your life and mine. So, you know, I look at something like this and I go, now you're losing credibility with me. Because I don't believe that everybody over on the left believes that. I believe that some people over on the left may actually believe that the Constitution stands for what it is alone. And if I don't believe you're correct, that this is the liberalist movement, then I can't know how incorrect you are. We're back in the same boat here. However, I must give this writer credit, or these writers. I can't tell you if it's just one or more. I haven't done the research. They do give links to their footnotes, which they have references in. And I'm just looking at the references here, and they look so far they look like reputable references. All of them I've seen so far. There is one I see called the Liberal International, and I don't know how reputable that is. But the other ones look good. You know, Conservative Voice. One of them is Fox News, which is going to be it's called Democrats Aim to Kill Abstinence-Only Program Funding. After I saw what Fox News did yesterday, I can't take that seriously, so that's not a good reference. You know, you want reality, don't you? Do you want reality, or do you want to be told what you already believe? If you're on the far right and you don't want reality, keep listening to Fox News. If you're on the far left, keep listening to MSNBC, and only MSNBC. If you want to know what reality is, if you want to know how the world views us, as well as how the facts define us, not opinions, make sure to include some NPR, some BBC, going right on down the list, ABC, NBC, CBS. I was watching comments on this Fox News blunder yesterday that stated that Obama was going to fund a Muslim-only museum out of his own pocket since the government had shut down, as if the government, whatever. After that, I read the comments, and it turned out that the people that were madly in love with Fox News tended to hate all the other networks. And that got my brain to click in there, because this isn't something I thought about before. Is this what Sarah Palin was talking about when she mentioned the lamestream media? Was she talking about everybody but Fox News? Well, there's a saying you may have heard, and it's called something like, "That many Frenchmen can't be wrong." I think the fact that so many major news organizations fit Sarah Palin's definition of the inaccurate lamestream media, then her definition must be flawed. Because facts spawn stories, and then those stories can take spins. So there's some grain of truth in almost all of them. Now, that is represented in media, even though it's not a linear representation. I think you can agree with that if we put it on the chalkboard. So knowing that, I'm looking saying, okay, Sarah, tell me who's not lamestream media. And I fear that if I said that to her, it would be like Katie Couric asking her to, define a Supreme Court case other than Roe v. Wade, asking her which magazines or newspapers she read every day. If you like Sarah Palin, I worry for you, because you've got brilliant people on the right, like Newt Gingrich. He may have a lot of problems, and you may have a lot of reasons to hate him if you're on the left. He's a brilliant dude. So you get brilliant people on both sides of the aisle, and you got dummies on both sides of the aisle, don't you? Yeah, there's no question about it. However, people that are just following what they want to be told, following what their belief system is already intact, they're not going to change it for anybody, and they just want to feed it. They just want more ammunition to launch at the other side and support for their own structures, rather than trying to keep their finger on the pulse of reality. They want to reinforce, which is a closed-minded thing to do and is dangerous. It will not allow for change, and it will not allow for growth. It's like taking a 7-year-old kid, buying a suit for him, and saying, you will fit in that suit your whole life. You better. You better. He's going to come ripping out like the Hawk. You know this. That's what I wish people's minds would do as information changes. But they don't. They fit into that 7-year-old suit, don't they? They make it fit. Terrifying. I'm continuing to do my unprofessional thing of eating a Pop-Tart while broadcasting a radio show. I've just about finished my points, but what I don't like to do on this show is say I'm going to tell you something and then not say it, so let me read my description. Fox News embarrasses itself, true. Common misconceptions about liberals and conservatives, true. And my meandering path of meaning and, well, whatever. Well, I think I did all that. Yeah, I think I did. Yeah, I did all that. And, we've been on the air for 1 hour now. I think that's enough for tonight. I'm going to go ahead and put on 2 more songs. And if you've got disagreements with this, if you've got anything you want to say about it, you're welcome to come over and say it. hey, maybe they'll take my license to broadcast away if I don't let you come say it. I'd be okay with that. Hell yeah. I believe in freedom of speech to an extent. You know, once you get into discussing, let's say you were to call me and say, murder one is a beautiful thing. You know what I really liked? I really liked when Jeffrey Dahmer started cutting, now fill in a few paragraphs here of information, and then he ate, fill in a few more paragraphs of information. I really thought that was sexy, especially when he did fill in a few more paragraphs. Okay, I'm not letting that on my show. Now, am I a freedom of speech hater? Am I fighting freedom of speech? Or am I just insisting on a little bit of class? Well, I'll leave that for you to decide. But figure out your top 4 or 5 major crimes that you would call, you know, major crimes in the world. Those are, if you're talking about those in some kind of favorable way, I can't have you on doing that. I mean, it just, you know, we got to have some kind of moral code to begin with, without necessarily ascribing it or attaching it to some religion. So that's where I start. That's where I start. And here's a little tidbit. It doesn't really relate, or it may. Did you know that you can figure out what's important to you beyond any shadow of a doubt by doing a little trick? I figured this out myself. When you wake up in the mornings, and just do this for a week, you don't even have to write it down if you have a decent memory. Pay attention to the first 3, 4, or 5 things you think about when you first wake up in the morning. Okay? Now, the first thing might be I gotta pee. Second thing might be my lovely wife. Third thing might be my son. Fourth thing might be the car's broken down. How am I going to get to work? Oh yeah, I'm getting a ride from a friend. And maybe the fifth thing is world affairs. Okay? Whatever it is for you, write that down if you can, or remember it for about a week. And you'll see that although they change daily to a degree, a theme will build. The first things you think about in the morning are what is important to you. Over time, yeah, definitely works. It really does. If you're ever curious about what really matters to you, and you're going, I already know what really matters to me, you might be surprised. You might be surprised. That's a way to peek into your subconscious. And it's hard to get into your subconscious. That's a way to peek into it. Think about the first 3, 5, 7 things you think about when you wake up on a given morning. Record that for about a week, 2 weeks, a month. If you want to, the longer you record, the more accurate it's going to be, because then you start to see what repeats, and not just do one day and say, how come I woke up thinking about bananas? You're telling me bananas are important to me? No. If it only happens once, you can kind of cast it out as far as a repeating theme, couldn't you? Okay, thank you. Let's make a little sense here. Anyway, that was my little tidbit for the day. Governments being idiots. This was not a time to pick a fight, and it is not a time to have a fight. We're all going to pay for it. What are we losing, a couple $1 billion a day? Yeah, just throwing it away, throwing it out in the wind. All the while saying we're concerned about spending money. Bullshit. Just pure bullshit. For those of you that pray, or if you have any kind of metaphysical connections or anything else of that nature, would you please send some toward my stepdad? I call him Pops. Mr. Tony Sign had a back surgery, one of a rather invasive one, had the brackets and the screws and all that on Wednesday, and is recovering now. So he's 4 days out of surgery. He is trying already to get off the walker and go with just a cane. And I think that's crazy, but he's doing it. Would you send some good vibes his way, even if you hate me? Send some good feelings his way. He's nothing but a comedian. He'll tell you a joke every time he gets a chance to. He'll help you out, bend over backwards to help you. A hillbilly is a good way to describe him. A funny one, though. That's how he is, you know. Maybe you could send some good wishes his way for healing and happiness. I would most certainly appreciate it. I ask you to send me nothing except your thoughts. I would like your thoughts. Would you send those to me? If you want to do it privately, you can email me. What's the deal at yahoo.com. That is WUTZ, the deal, just like it sounds, at yahoo.com. Go over to the Facebook page if you like, facebook.com/truthontapshow. Don't forget the show. The easy way to remember it is TOTS. Like tater tots. Truth on Tap Show. Facebook.com/Truth on Tap Show or Spreaker.com/user/Truth on Tap. That's all got all similar information on it and links back to one another, so you can get there that way. I am going to throw on here, trying to figure out, I wanted to play with sound effects and stuff tonight, but I'm going to skip all that. Because it seems like every time I want to do that, it's on a serious topic and it doesn't match. You know, I need to go on a goofy topic and then I can do my fun with sound effect stuff. How about Bad Ace, a special? That'll be what we start with. And then what we'll close with is going to be Jay Lang Drops of H2O. And you're going, what's that? And I'm going, I don't know. A reminder.
You're listening to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kirsten.
And I want to sincerely thank you for listening this early Sunday morning, October 6, 2013. I hope you have a great Sunday. I very much appreciate your listenership and invite your comments and questions. Peace.
Not really a shy guy. I've never put on a make. I never even had to try. And this ain't the first time. I think I tried too hard. Lost my grip and I let you slip away. Oh, so far away. I didn't tell anybody a thing. Because, girl, you mean the whole world to me. Oh, I really did, baby. I didn't mean to make you leave. I just wanted you to stay here with me. I won't try too hard. Tighten my grip so you can't slip away. Oh, so far away. I lost you because you didn't know how to play. And then you went away so far away. Oh, so far away. Now I know how to play your game. Take a hold and do whatever I please. Oh, baby, no, it pleases me now. Never even tried at all. You take it once and then you want it all, baby. But you can't have it all. Oh, maybe just a little.
to Truth on Tap with host Kevin Kears.